was gearing up to start, and my cat came in yelling. So, but seems like he's settled. Seems like he's settled down. So we'll give it a shot. Forgive me if I look unwashed. I am. The city of Richmond is under a boil water advisory for the second time in like 5 months. Hopefully that changes in the next half hour or so. Hey! You'd be cool. So, for just about exactly 2 months now, I have been working on a sort of long-term reading project that I will hopefully be able to... Hey, easy. Dude. Since March 28th, I've been reading Cormac McCarthy's entire bibliography in order of publication, and that's about all I've been reading. So, one, I'm excited to hopefully soon be done with that. I'm having a blast, but it's a lot of Cormac in a row. But I'll talk about that more another time. But, you know, as I'm rounding the corner into the final third of this McCarthy speed run, I'm sort of fantasizing about what I'll get to read for the rest of the year, and how varied and not Cormac McCarthy it's all going to be. And, you know, looking around my room, I have a lot of books that I've been meaning to read a long time, including some long ones. You know, basically my mindset going into this Cormac McCarthy run has been almost to treat it like one really long book in the way I think about approaching it. And in that vein, you know, when I'm done, I guess in a way, with that mindset, I will have read a 2,000 or 3,000 page book. So 600 to 1,200 pages seems a little less scary when you look at it that way. And there are some books that I have been wanting to read for a long time, but have been a little intimidated by, that have also, 2 of them have just come my way recently. So hopefully I'm gonna say by the end of 2025, in the next 6 months, 7 months or so, I'd like to have read them, or I'd like to read them. Hold on. Maybe now he'll say. So anyway, let's get started. I'm doing this in no particular order, or the order I'm doing it in is the order with which they stack the most neatly on my desk in front of me, just out of view for you. So, first things first. 2666, Roberto Bolaño. I have talked in previous videos about my newfound affection for Roberto Bolaño, and I've only read his short works and what a lot of people would probably consider his more minor works, with the exception maybe of By Night in Chile. I've read Amulet. I'm looking over there at my shelf. I've read Amulet, Antwerp, By Night in Chile, and The Insufferable Gaucho. I've liked them all a lot, except Antwerp. And I think before I read any more of his short ones, I want to read 2666. It sounds more up my alley than The Savage Detectives, at least knowing what I know now. You know, I intend to read The Savage Detectives someday, so we'll see if that holds true. But, you know, it's definitely an intimidating book, both in subject matter and in scope and in page count, because let's see, 893, which is honestly not as bad as I expected, but still that's a lot of pages. So, I don't know. This one's high on the list. This will probably... I don't know if it'll be the first of the three I'm going to talk about that I'm going to tackle, but this is the one I am least intimidated by and most excited for, I will say. Though parts of it sound pretty brutal. I said that and opened it up to part 4, the part about the crimes. So, I'm prepared for that. Like I said, I've spent the last 2 months basically only reading Cormac McCarthy. So, the worst parts of human nature are becoming familiar to me all over again, I guess. So, we'll see if Bolaño can freak me out more than Cormac can. But it's supposed to be a phenomenal book. People with roughly similar tastes to me seem to prefer this one over Savage Detectives. So I'm excited. And I really like Roberto Bolaño, so I'm assuming I'll really like this. Next up, so this, one of my local public libraries has a little shelf when you walk in where they're selling books that I guess they were donated, or maybe some of them used to be library books, though clearly not all of them were. They have the shelf of these up when you walk in, and they're all hardcovers are $1, paperbacks are 50 cents. I got a copy of The Dying Grass by William T. Vollmann there about 6 months ago for 50 cents. That's not top of my list right now, but I am excited to read that. That's back there. But about a week ago, I was walking in to go check out some books, and I came across Andersonville by McKinley Cantor for 50 cents. A pretty darn cool old paperback copy. Now, I have not heard a lot about this book. I mean, I knew it won the Pulitzer, but mostly what I knew about it, and the reason I knew it won a Pulitzer, is that when asked about why he doesn't use quotation marks, one of the things McCarthy has cited is this book. Apparently, this book does not use quotation marks, which is not, a reason to pick up a book, but sort of stuck in my mind. And I also, I feel, I'm 25 now. I feel my future as a Civil War history enthusiast dad. Civil War history enthusiast in a cool way, not a Confederate way, but I can feel that beckoning to me. Ken Burns' Civil War documentary has been sort of calling to me from just beyond a few years down the road. Anyway, I also, living in Richmond, the Belle Isle, which is like a pretty popular outdoor wander around spot. You can hang out in the river there. You can ride your bike, that sort of thing. It used to be a Confederate prisoner of war camp, or they housed Union prisoners of war. And there's a museum right off the island that I will sort of tentatively recommend if you're ever in town. Tentatively. But they do have some sections on what that Civil War prisoner of war experience was, and just how brutal it was. I mean, some of the photos in there really do, of survivors leaving the camp at the end of the war. It's hard not to be reminded of, photos of people being liberated from concentration camps at the end of World War II. That sort of just extreme emaciation and extreme hardship. Which is to say, I'm sure this will not be a fun book, but it did seem interesting, and I was very willing to pay 50 cents for it. Now, it is a big book. It is 700 and... It's got a works cited in the back. Okay. I think that's tells you something right there. Works cited, long works cited at the back of a fiction novel, but it's about 750 pages, and as you can see, it is just like a wall of text in here. So this will be a big undertaking. Not a beach read by any means, but I'm looking forward to that. This feels like a fall book to me. This feels like this might be the project of the fall. I don't have it here, but I'm going to read Lonesome Dove at the beach this year. I've promised my mom that. But I don't have a copy yet, so I don't have it in front of me. And also, if past beach trips have been any indication, I think I can knock that out over the week of the beach. So that's less of a looming goal for the end of the year and more a book I'm looking forward to. But it is long. But I don't have a copy yet, so I can't wave it around for you. Final one. I was in Barnes & Noble recently, the Richmond Barnes & Noble, down on Broad Street, Libby and Broad, for those keeping track. And, I don't think of Barnes & Noble. I tend to prefer the local bookstores around here. We've got a couple of really awesome local used bookstores, used and new. But, sometimes you find, I had a gift card to Barnes & Noble, and I was wandering around a little bit, and whoever is doing the book buying, like the inventory buying for the Richmond Barnes & Noble, if you're out there, I would like to buy you a beer, because all of a sudden, a lot of cool stuff has been popping up. They carry a ton of NYRB classics now. They have been, just more and more interesting stuff I'm not expecting has been just sort of cropping up in the Barnes & Noble aisles, which I think is really cool. In that vein, the Barnes & Noble has started carrying a lot of Dalkey Archive essential paperbacks. And a book that I stumbled across when I was there wandering around with my gift card that I never really expected to see in a bookstore. I thought that if I wanted to get this at some point, I would probably have to buy it online, and it's been such an ongoing process, I know, getting it out at all. I never expected to come across it randomly in a Barnes & Noble. But they had Miss Macintosh, My Darling by Marguerite Young, which is a book I'm sort of mesmerized by its reputation, and the excerpts of the prose I've really liked, even if the summary of it being this sort of deeply psychological maximalist novel, it isn't exactly the things that normally set off my alarm bells for what I think I'd like. I had a gift card that covered, this book was $28. I had a $25 gift card. I knew what I had to do, especially because I don't know if I'm ever going to run into this in a bookstore again, and it is awesome. It's just an awesome thing to own, I will say, but I also do intend to read it in the next 6 months, hopefully. But speaking of a wall of text, eat your heart out, Andersonville, because you can tell, I'm sure. I'm not a small man. This is a big book, and it is packed so densely with words. I mean, goodness. And also, as if that wasn't enough, it is... Okay, it goes right up to the end pretty much. This edition is 1,321 pages. And it really looks like it is making use of every square inch of those 1,321 pages. So that's going to be the big lift if I do, in fact, manage to read that before the end of the year. Heck, I got 7 months left in the year. If June 1st, I started reading 10 pages a day, would I finish? I can't do math like that. Hold on. Yes, I would. But now, it would be like Thanksgiving. So, I'm excited though. let me read a little bit of this, because in Barnes & Noble, I opened it to a random, I think I opened it to just chapter 1, and, which also, I love, one of the top sort of praise quotes in here is Marguerite Young is unquestionably a genius, Kurt Vonnegut, which, like, I would not have expected Kurt Vonnegut to be the cheerleader #1 for the 1,321-page book examining the psychology of women on a bus, but that got my attention for sure. So let's see. Let's just read a tiny bit. This is the first paragraph. The bus driver was whistling, perhaps in anticipation of his wife, who would be a woman with ample breasts, those of realized maturity. It would be impossible that he did not have, from my point of view, a wife and children, indeed, a happiness such as I could not imagine even to be real, even like some legend out of the golden ages. He had spoken numerous times during our journey of his old woman waiting, and he was going home. Yeah, I don't know. The writing seems awesome. Leaf by Leaf's video on this also really caught my attention. And again, I just don't know if I'm ever going to run across this in a bookstore again, certainly not new and in such perfect condition. So I have it. I'm going to read it. I'm excited. I think there's an irony to the fact that by far the briefest video I've managed to film thus far has been the one about really long books, but I also haven't read them yet, so I don't have a whole lot to say about them. I'll keep you updated and be on the lookout for the Cormac McCarthy speedrun reflection in the next little while, though I've got 5 books or so left. Yeah, let's hope the water's back on.